Hey, this is Kurt Busch. You're listening to Speed City Radio.
Welcome back to the fastest hour in radio, Speed City.
So, all right, gentlemen, I want to talk Andretti, Global Andretti, actually, is what they call it.
That's right.
And the Andretti Formula One effort, because there's been some words spoken. And Jonathan, I'm going to let you start talking about this because you threw this in our show doc, and I was really excited to see the comments that came out, particularly what Michael said. But go ahead.
Well, yeah, I've been wanting to kind of keep resurrecting this story because when we were in Miami, it was all frothing over and Michael was there and Mario was there and they were talking to Toto and talking to all the teams and talking to Dominicali, and they were revving up. They paid their sort of deposit and they were ready to come in, Andretti Global. And so they were it was almost like a frat rush. They were going around all the teams, basically selling themselves. But it's all gone horribly quiet. And it's almost as though Formula One, well, the headline of this article I put in there was Michaels said that when he was in Formula One in '93, there was a sort of snobbish European attitude towards Americans. And he said, it doesn't seem like that has changed. And that has led to some of the team managers to be a bit of nose out of joint on it, including Gunther Steiner. And I think they've met with a quite cold reception, and they haven't been met with the open arms of let's get Mario and Michael into Formula One and let's continue this wave of popular support that Formula One's getting from Drive to Survive, from Speed City, from ESPN, and so on. Instead, it was met with a lukewarm kind of, well, we'll see.
Well, I think first of all, the things that like Gunther Steiner said, something to the effect that, well, there's no reason to be brash and rude about it. And it's like, okay, look, have you ever been to America? We're not going to sit quietly and just, we're going to go both feet in on this. But the thing that Michael said that really struck me, he said, I'm trying to remind them that there's 350 million people in this country and that there's been a spike in interest here with Drive to Survive, but they shouldn't be content with what they have, because we all know that the bright, shiny thing that is Drive to Survive could go away. Jonathan, you and I have talked about it multiple times. It could wane and it could go away. Well, what Michael Andretti wants to bring is more than anything, he knows it because he has said it, as a true American team with a true American driver. That's another thing he said. He knows that an American team, we've got Haas F1, and there's lots of arguments about that, and that they've done some things that I haven't loved, right? And he said we're going to have an American driver on our roster. Period. Flat out, Michael did. And
if not two.
And Jonathan, in our pre-production call, that's exactly what you said, and I agree with you that having an American driver is probably more important than an American team. And
in terms of the fanfare that Drive to Survive has created, if you want to build on that, it won't nudge the needle if Andretti Autosport get involved in Formula One, but if Kyle Kirkwood or if Colton Herta make it to Formula One, that will move the needle to the next step of interest by American fans.
Yeah, we cannot sit here and count on the Drive to Survive. You need to do it now because, look, you're having American sponsors just pour, millions and millions, hundreds of millions of dollars into the sport right now because of these ratings that are driven by Drive to Survive on ESPN. We're seeing the massive television numbers now that the rights that ESPN has gone from paying $5 million to $90 million for the television rights. But I think Michael's spot on. I think that this could fade, and we need to let's take advantage now. Let's get the drivers in. Let's get some American sponsors in. I mean, you could build so much around an Andretti team. He's not going to, if he gets big American sponsor money, he's not going to worry about money. He's going to be able to, partner with whatever engine supplier. I know Renault has been the discussion, but he could partner with whatever engine supplier if he's got enough money. And I know we have the cost cap and all that, but yeah.
But wouldn't you argue that America's already there with Oracle and Cisco and, and so on and so forth? I mean, Meta, Dell, these are big companies with big money. Oracle, Red Bull. There is a lot of American money.
Salesforce,
Yep.
Zoom.
CrowdStrike.
No, I'm not arguing that they're not already there. I'm just saying that
A person.
no. Well, I'm saying to keep them there, just like we're gonna. If Drive to Survive, if it's no longer one of the top shows on Netflix next year, let's say, then that's going to drive probably the ratings down, and the sponsors will go with it. But if you let Andretti in sooner than later, and can hook those American fans while you've got their attention, you're bringing an American driver in. But also, let's face it, if you bring an American driver in to the Haas team and he never wins. Jonathan, you've said this. You said it. You brought it to my attention, I think, more than I realized it. If we've got an American driver that brought into the sport and he's not winning, we're not going to catch the American attention.
Well, and that's unfortunately what happened to Michael in his own career. He was a fantastic, well, as you said, one of the most successful IndyCar drivers ever, right up there with his dad. And yet he didn't do anything in Formula One and had a rather limp McLaren half a season, and sort of faded away very quickly. So yeah, that would be disaster. And so the worst thing to happen would be for like with Rossi's career at Caterham, he never really stood a chance, and now he's proved what kind of a driver he can be in Indy, but he never got the chance in Formula One. And that's the sort of delicate balance you're on, is that whatever the American is that gets it. And by the way, let's not forget the other side of this, the sort of sleeping giant, and that of course is, will Williams beat everybody to it by putting Logan in the car instead of Latifi?
It's true. We cannot. I mean, look what Logan Sargent has done in the last few weeks, last few races. I mean, it's been fantastic. And listen to his attitude. I mean, he's just really on it. I'm looking on therace.com, and I'm looking at some of the comments, and this comment is exactly what Gunther was talking about. This guy says, Andretti being a loudmouth is certainly not doing himself any favors, spelled the European way. And if you add the arrogance of coming out and saying stuff like this when you've never designed a race car, and that's the way Americans are perceived right now. And I don't know how much of that is hurting him, but if you're a decision maker in Formula One, and in this case, if you're Toto Wolff and you're Christian Horner and any other of the team principals who have a vote in this situation, if you're letting that skew your opinion of this, you're being short-sighted. Because if Andretti brings the Andretti name and the American audience and the American dollars with all of that, it is going to pay off for you, Toto and Christian and everyone else in Formula One. I'm convinced of that. And I think that if you don't agree with that, then I think you are short-sighted. But gentlemen, we need to get our last break. And you got one more point, Jonathan. Go ahead.
Yeah, one more point. I mean, also, it's just it's sort of short-sighted by Formula One not to 3 Grand Prix in America next year. If you have the one American driver, then you can cash in on Vegas, on Miami, and in Austin. And so that's just another point, is that Liberty should be pushing this as well.
Yep.